Can we talk for a minute about friends and making friends and how hard it is to make friends? I feel like as an adult, you look around and everybody already has friends, but not you, right? It's hard to penetrate into a group of people who are close, who have known each other for a really long time. It's a hard thing to do, and it's easy to feel isolated. Sometimes it feels like everybody has a friend except for you, or everybody has their group, everybody has their community except you. Maybe you just moved back into town, or started a new job, or broke up with your ex, and now you're stuck. Don't you remember being a kid and how easy it was to make friends? Let me give you an example. In preparation for this show, I spoke with some 5th graders about making friends. And here's what Timothy said. Timothy, you were telling me about how you made your friends. How'd you make your friends?
I just went up to them and talked to them, and boom, friends created.
I don't know if it was ever that easy for me, but when you're young and dumb and nothing stands in your way, you know, it's so easy to make friends. Contrast that with a conversation I had with a 30-something. She was telling me about her thought process to approaching someone.
Hey, I think this person would really be interested in this. I think I want to ask them if they want to come with me, but then what if they don't want to go? What if they think I'm weird? And what if it's something that they're not interested in? And what if it's like something that, they would actually be really bored by? And then I just invited them to something that would bore them, and now they're going to think I'm boring. So it's just, it's like these racing thoughts that I think it's ultimately just fear of rejection and fear that someone's just not going to want to spend time with you. And then what does that say about you? Because that's automatically what you assume is it's me, it's not them. There's something wrong with me, or there's something, unattractive about me that this person doesn't want to spend time with me outside of wherever we've hung out.
When I heard that, I was shocked. I mean, you can't overthink this stuff to death. Go up and talk to somebody, right? Isn't it that easy? I want to assure you that there isn't something wrong with you necessarily. If you're having a hard time connecting with people, it is hard. I feel like everyone is nervous. And a lot of times they're probably having similar thoughts to you. I don't want to seem stupid or like I'm too eager. All right, let's take a little break, stretch our legs. After the break, I'm going to talk to Devin Sheaf, who's going to give some practical tips on how to navigate the changing landscape that we're faced with and how to make a few friends. Welcome back to the conversation. With me over the phone right now is Devin Sheaf. She's the co-founder of the Learning Cafe. Devin, where are you located?
Ian, hi. Great to be with you. We have 2 offices, one in Charleston, South Carolina, and I am located in Westlake Village, California.
Oh, fantastic.
And our mission is to help people and organizations create better relationships at work and at home. Thanks for inviting me to join in the fun today.
Of course. Thank you so much for being on. So you mentioned creating better relationships. Are these people of a certain age? And what does the Learning Cafe do?
Well, the Learning Cafe specializes in multi-generational workplace relationships. So, for example, at work, we've got a wonderful mix, right? We're like a family reunion coming to work every day. It's like the Thanksgiving table. And we help people of all generations share their knowledge, appreciate fresh new perspectives, and get a lot of good stuff done at work each day. We have been at this for about 23 years. This is our 23rd year. And we do a great deal of primary research about workplace trends and demographic trends. And then we put that research actually into play and into work by going into corporations, federal government, not-for-profits, understanding what their issues are, and sharing really practical tips on what can we all do to relate to each other and create a really productive, satisfying workplace for everybody.
I'm assuming a large part of that demographic is, or maybe a growing part of that demographic is people in their 20s, 30s, millennials. Are you seeing any trends in that growing workforce, are they having a harder time than in past to sort of integrate into the culture of their workplaces?
That's a really great question.
Devin, you're making this so easy on me. Everything's a great question.
Well, I would say yes, and here's why. Many of our workplaces are populated with baby boomers.
Mm-hmm. And that's what age to?
Born 1946 to 64.
Okay.
And members of Generation X as well. And Generation X is considered to have been born 1965 to 1979. And so our workplaces are filled with these folks, and in come millennials, right? Our fabulous 20 and 30-somethings who have up-to-date education, fresh ideas, new ways of working and thinking and communicating. And they bring all that into the workplace. And not every workplace, but some of them go, oh, thanks for sharing. Now could you just do it the way we've always done it?
Yes. I think we all know about that struggle.
Yeah, so that's a challenge. And the other challenge that really intrigued me related to your podcast topic today about making friends is that for many mid-20-somethings and 30-somethings, the things that create community are kind of done in a sense. So if you met a big cohort of friends in college, right now everybody's working and might be drifting away. Maybe you move to a new town or a new city for work or even a new neighborhood. Maybe you've just drifted apart from your friends. So that's a real social challenge for 20 and 30-somethings, and frankly for just about everybody.
So I know at the Learning Cafe, you were telling me you have 3 things that you try to focus on.
Yeah. So particularly related to creating connections and friendships. We say there are 3 things, we call them genius tips. And the first is to check our mindset. And the second is to connect. And the third is to communicate. And happy to share tips around those as you see fit.
Sure. So, okay, you're saying maybe you move away or, you've grown up and now you're going into a new environment, a new career, and it's hard. How do you find comfortable place? Where do you find your place? I've never had to struggle with that. I'm immune to having to struggle with that. So it's not a problem for me.
What you just said there encapsulates kind of our first set of tips, and that's check your mindset. So what we think and how we view ourselves is just as important as the other 2 sets of tips that I'll share.
Sure.
So sometimes our biggest obstacle is our own attitude. So we say, oh, I can't make a friend. I went out and asked folks 2 or 3 times if they wanted to get together. They said no. And then we kind of get into this, oh, am I kind of a loser mentality?
Most likely,
right?
yes, but...
So I assure everyone you are not a loser, first of all. That we're going to start right there.
Okay.
And so do make a habit of observing what you're thinking about yourself. So that's just a tip. And replace your inner dialogue of, oh, I'm tired, I don't feel like it, I don't want to go out, I'm not that interesting, other people aren't that interesting. Take that dialogue and just put it to the side and replace it with good old-fashioned positive self-talk that says, you know what, I can make a new friend, and there are a lot of people who would be interested in knowing me. So I'd say just begin right there. Check your own mindset before you venture through the front door.
That is an amazing tip. I thank you so much. Self-awareness and positive thinking, that is really, I think, what's going to get you through the door, right? Is going to get you to making those friends.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know how they say every endeavor is an inner game before it's an outer game. And so there's actually, without making it harder than it is, just before you hit the front door, just have that little talk with yourself and say, cool.
Pep talk.
That's right. I love that. That's perfect.
That's hilarious.
And also be open, right? It's not a job interview. You're going out to find some people you want to hang out with a little bit. So just take yourself and them off the hook. Get your mind set for positivity and being adventuresome. So that's step one.
Perfect. Love it.
And
Step two.
Yeah, step two. So this falls into the category of chase your passions, not people. So, and here's what that means. So, like, a lot of people say, well, where do I find folks? And there are some obvious and maybe some not so obvious. So I'm going to give you a quick little list here. In the spirit of chasing passions, not people. So if we begin with the I want to make a friend as a goal, that may not be as successful for us as I want to be involved in interesting activities that fuel my passion and my interests, and then I can meet people who have similar passions and interests. Does that make sense, Ian?
Oh, no, it totally does. And I feel like that's going to be the place. If you're doing something that you enjoy, you're going to be more relaxed. And the people that you meet, you're not going to have to try to explain, well, I'm into this. And you're already in a group of people that enjoy the same thing. You're not going to have to work at all. This is so easy.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. I love it.
Cool. So here are some I'm going to list these quickly for
Okay,
everyone.
yeah, awesome.
So first, think about volunteering to a worthy cause. Other people who are there volunteering to probably have stuff in common with you. Second, engage in a community online or in person that revolves around a passion or a hobby. Do you like to modify and fix up cars? Do you want to learn how to make sushi? Find those people. Then I would say, number 3 on the list, I would say get active. Do you enjoy athletics? Join a running club. Go to CrossFit. Join a sports league. Be outdoors if that's where your passion is. Next on the list, I would add, are you ready for it?
Okay, go ahead. Hit me.
Number 4, borrow a dog if you don't have one already. So borrow that dog, go out for a walk, go to the dog park. You are going to meet so many people. Walk around your neighborhood, right?
That sounds pretty low commitment. It's not mine. I can give it back.
Absolutely. Don't have to go acquire a dog. You can see behind that, the idea is get out in your community. Mix, mingle, socialize, right? So get to know the folks around the neighborhood. And why that? Because the hidden number one source of friends are the friends of other people. So you bump into somebody at the dog park or walking down the street. After a while, you strike up an acquaintance and they say, hey, I know somebody who.
Right.
So it kind of gives you that built-in piece. Next on our list, be proactive and invite people into your life. For example, dinner plus ones. You invite a friend, an existing friend or 2 or 3 over for drinks or dinner, or you go out, and each person brings someone with them that the other people don't know. So everybody gets to benefit and meet a new person.
Or everybody is equally terrorized by your horrible friend.
Exactly. And the next time you go out, you've got something really great to talk about.
That's true. That's true. I went to this horrible dinner party.
2 more for our list.
Awesome.
One is kind of informal on the fly, and it is so darn obvious, but you're at the coffee shop or you're at the gym or you're at the bar. Be open to casual conversation. And what sociologists tell us, what's behind casual conversation is eye contact. So if you're at the bar staring down into your craft IPA and you never look up, it's going to be pretty hard to make that connection. So be open to the on-the-fly things. Very last one, don't forget church. For faith-based communities, this is a wonderful place to find and practice our friendship skills. So those are some of the where. We would be remiss if we didn't talk about how to communicate and make people like you, don't you think?
So you've made eye contact. You're in that cool place. You're kind of interesting.
Yeah.
How do I get to the next level there?
Yeah, you've made a little chit-chat. So here are some things to know about yourself. So let's imagine, we've struck up a conversation. Oh, I love this IPA. Yep, I know them. Or, oh my gosh, what an adorable dog. Or, wow,
Sure.
this workout is really tough today. So we've done, how are other people looking at us? So a thing to know, when other people look at us, their impressions are formed by the visual, the vocal, and the verbal. Any guesses as to what's most important as other people form impressions of us?
I'm going to say visual.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Over half of our impression of someone is formed from our body language, how we act, how we move, how we dress, how we gesture. It's just a good thing to know. And then, another 40% or so comes from our voice tone. And what can other people intuit about us from our voice tone? And very last on that list is what we're actually saying. So I guess I say this to give us some confidence that it doesn't have to be harder than it is. We don't need the perfect words. A friendly smile, a warm gesture, eye contact, those things take us so very far. So in terms of the how and how to help people like you and how to
trick them into liking you.
Yeah. Have good weather. Make sure your attitude is a positive one. You don't have to be ebullient and jumping up and down and giddy with joy, but put a positive face forward. And then a couple of, again, to mentally jot down for yourself. One of the struggles we sometimes have is then how do we turn that small talk into the next thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do we suggest, well, why don't we get together sometime? And so you probably want to turn that small talk into an actual conversation. And sometimes, I know I sure do, sometimes we struggle with how do I go from, boy, that was a tough workout, to learning a little more. So there's a little acronym to keep in your mind, and it's called FORD, F-O-R-D.
Mm-hmm.
And when we think about what do we ask about, you might begin with FORD. So it's so quick and simple. Family, our occupation, our recreation, and our dreams. It's a simple way to come up with topics. And you just say to yourself, oh, I could ask a question or two about these things.
Yeah, and I would expand on FORD. I think a lot of times it's easy to just say, oh, tell me about your family. Tell me about your occupation. And so what I try to do is kind of twist those a little bit. Oh, like,
cool. How do you do that?
Who do you hate in your family? Or tell me about your horrible boss. I don't know, something where it's not, where it causes them to think a little bit, because from my experience, when people are thinking about their response, you can get even more insight into who they are, how they think, and then you can use those things to really like turn the screws on them, so to speak, and really make them like you.
The key to being more interesting is to be more interested in others, right? It's
so
that I want to bridge a gap. I want to learn. I'm curious. And it's less about us and more about other people. That's the mindset that can help us. So those are some tips on how to help people like us. So we're going to watch our weather. We're going to be aware that our visual hugely contributes. We're going to turn small talk into real conversation using FORD. And we're going to follow your advice of asking engaging questions.
Devin, thank you so much for being here, giving us this insight.
My great pleasure. May I leave you and your listeners with a wonderful online resource?
Yes, please do.
There is a website. It is called A Free Guide to Getting Past Social Awkwardness, sponsored by a wonderful counselor, and it is called succeedsocially.com.
And what's your website again?
www.thelearningcafe.net.
All right. Thank you again, Devin Sheaf, co-founder of The Learning Cafe.
My great pleasure, Ian.
Let me say this too. I know a lot of the tips that we just talked about or just heard favored extroverted people, people who are comfortable talking to people already. I think the key to making friends or making a connection with another person, if you're introverted or you have anxiety about approaching somebody for whatever reason, the key is finding common ground. If you can find common ground with somebody on whatever it is, and start small, you live in this area, you're coming from that, background, we went to the same school, whatever. Finding common ground is going to unlock the door for you. What you do after that with this person is going to help you open the door, and after that you can walk through it. That common ground is something that's so key to the next step. I just want to wrap up the show here. I have Cecilia Fan, the young adult coordinator for the Diocese of Orange, in studio with me. Cecilia, things have changed from when we were kids. It's not as easy, and we get wrapped up in our own lives, right? What's it like now?
Now you don't see your friends as often anymore, right? So what becomes almost, I guess, to make it unromantic as possible, but like, what's the metric of value in friendship? And it was really cool because in Pope Francis's apostolic exhortation, The Joy of the Gospel, he talks about this idea of sharing a mystique of living together, this mystery of what it means to actually be a community. And that somehow that's just not what is a part of our day-to-day anymore. Like, it's very scheduled, right? Like, everyone's a brand, right? On Instagram, everyone has like their thing and their look. But like, what's the mystery behind all of that, or the chaos really in community? And have we been able to support that and embrace that in one another, especially sort of the ugly? Friendship is really a great friendship, a valuable friendship.
A real friend.
A real friend. Like, not Barney friend, but like real friend, you know? A genuine experience of that type of community. And I love that Pope Francis like taps into this idea of the art of accompaniment, which he breaks down to be just compassionate listening. That at the end of the day, that we are called to not worry about like the news feed that's popping up on our phones or the next text message, but that really what it comes down to is, when I am with you, am I truly present to who you are and everything that you're going through? Or am I waiting to respond to you or waiting for like the next thing? Or maybe I just am like dreading this conversation that we're having. But instead of being like a reactionary community, which is like what we see mostly in the world today, that it just is completely fully present and alive in that moment. And it goes back to this idea of building a relationship based off of something so much deeper than anything I wanted, but this desire to be there for somebody else.
It's like,
even when it was inconvenient.
Sure, it sounds like true love. You are giving yourself to that person, whatever the cost is to you.
Exactly.
And I'm hoping, I would hope that the understanding is both ways, right?
Yeah, that would be awkward if it wasn't both ways. And
yeah.
It's so funny because I think back to when Pope Francis like refers to that verse in Exodus, like the idea of like sacred ground. But that's what it comes down to, is that when we are with one another, that there is something very special, that it's unique. You don't take advantage of something like that. And that sticks out to me. And there's a shift in my attitude when we are with one another. And it allows me to be myself in like the least cliche way possible, but to just share and in like an unabashed sort of way and be completely vulnerable and honest, which is so hard actually to do.
It's almost impossible.
Exactly. And so I think that's really what it comes down to with friendship. And really what the Pope is trying to get at is this idea that we need to be that type of people for others always, you know, and we don't, because it's easy to get busy. But this idea and this call to genuine community is at the heart of what the gospel is.
Cecilia, thank you. That's quite the challenge to all of us. Now, maybe when we look at our friends that we have, are we doing that? That's a really great challenge. Actually trying to create a sacred space with those people that I know. Make sure to keep up with us at theconvo.us. You can follow us at the Convoso, like Convos with an O. Convoso. Convo was already taken.